folks. Over 200 kilometres of sand dunes today, making life tough even for the experts. And there's more tomorrow. Former leader Carlos Sainz struggled through the day with no major service. Will his car make it through another one?
Oh, yeah.
Dakar was founded in around 1150. It's known for its traditional architecture with beautiful decorative mosques, the most ornate in the whole of Mauritania. The town's also home to a small museum reputed to be the oldest in Africa, where a 600-year-old copy of the Quran is being restored. In its heyday, it was a rich town, a salt centre, and over 5,000 people lived here. Now, it's more like 100. Today's stage will probably change the face of the rally. It's a classic Dakar test. 590 kilometres featuring almost 200 k's of sand dune hell. And it's a marathon stage, so there's no service for those that survive today before tomorrow's tough test. A beautiful early morning start. The ride from Dakar to Dakar was never going to be an easy one. This was one test that particularly the riders feared. There was bound to be a lot of sand, and for those that don't have the technique of the professionals, a lot of struggle. But a warm send-off first for rider number 187. He's the Mauritanian, Mohamed Zidane Soued Ahmed, with local fans here to cheer him on. Before the sand, it was a fast but twisty piste with loads of rocks waiting to catch the unwary. And a dust storm blew up. Ahmed is having trouble finding where he's going. He's even wondering why on earth he's bothering. So we're right in the middle of the desert here. It's hard, but it's an adventure, this Dakar. Well, as the dust clouds swept across, it was difficult to continue with the navigation and watch the road. Plenty of traps for the unwary. A few tricky navigation sections early on would have brought out plenty of first-time riders, many of whom still remain. There wasn't really time to enjoy much of the scenery, alien though it is to many European eyes. Early leader was Frenchman Cyril Desprez. After 3 torrid days at the beginning of the rally with problem after problem, once they've got into Mauritania, he's really started to come into his own. And the man on the blue KTM, the odd mistake aside, was certainly making the early running. Finding his way through the locals, being chased by the following pack. Esteve, Oliver Zeta, and not far behind him, the man who leads them all, Mark Coma. Well, Coma may have been keeping his powder dry in the early sections, but he was not about to let his overall lead get even smaller or possibly vanish altogether. He was pushing on. Today's stage is a marathon. That means there are no full service trucks at the ends. They can rely on the assistance of their T4 trucks, which compete in the trucks category, and they will have spare engines, gearboxes, brakes, wheels, tyres, pretty much everything the riders need. And after today's stage, that's important. Most will have chosen a tyre that combined good abilities in sand with the ability to withstand rocks in the early and later sections. And that means that they wear pretty quickly on the stony ground. First to fuel at checkpoint 1, 200 kilometres in, Cyril Desprez. The riders have a 15-minute neutral time here between checking in and checking out, so fueling can be done safely and they can rest a little. And Coma saying that stones here have made it pretty tricky. Thankfully we're here at refueling, so now I've got to get ready for the second part of the stage. 2 refueling points today. It was such a long day, and it's not just the bikes that need topping up with energy. Problems for Esteve, his chain a little loose, and water carrier David Castor helps him sort it out before it's time to hit the road again. Castor tightening spokes, making final checks for the next push through the dunes. Well, we've worn the tyres down a bit. We've got to think of that really, because it's a marathon stage. There's no assistance at the other end. Just got to do it ourselves. Well, as the stage progressed, Castor in trouble. Esteve also slowing, and he, it turned out, had a gearbox problem. He couldn't find the top gears. Oliver Seta checked that he was okay. Not much he could do. And for Esteve, it was going to turn into a long and wretched day. Castor pulls alongside. Quick conversation, and he's waved on. Castor free to ride on his own, as Esteve has to plod along at near walking pace. So it was a tough day for Isidre Esteve. His challenge has certainly been blunted on stage 8. But Coma, again, spurred on perhaps by Depray's early pace, attacked very hard through the dunes, and particularly on the rocky pistes towards the end of the stage, he was really pushing, with 2 badly damaged wheel rims by the time he got into service. And as for Depray, well, he again just couldn't quite match the pace of the Spaniard. Coma is determined to hang on to this rally. Despite the sandstorm and poor visibility, he managed to overhaul Depray, staying with him to the end of the stage. But a good day in the end for Depray, moving up from 4th after stage 7 to 2nd position now. Coma, however, extends his overall advantage, as his main rivals early on have fallen by the wayside. Is it going to be a repeat of last year, where Depray chased Coma all the way to the coast? Evidence of the struggle, damaged wheel rims on either end of Coma's machine at the second refueling point. His 3rd stage win marked Coma ahead of Cyril Depray by 10 minutes in the end, but Holandus Ullevaarzeter also had a good day in 3rd. And Coma now nearly an hour clear at the top of the field. Difficult stage, said Mark Coma afterwards, which became even more tricky after the sandstorm. Had a good starting position at the beginning of the stage, but there are a lot of stones hidden in the sand, so that made life pretty tricky. Second part was sandier. That was easier. I managed to catch Cyril and then rode with him to the finish. We made it through together. For the car drivers as well as for the bike riders, it was going to be a tough day. And another well-known face in these parts, Nasser Al-Attaya. The Qatari driver and his BMW have been going very quickly over the last few days. This terrain would play directly into his hands. But what about the overall battle as they headed into Mauritania? Well, Volkswagen had the overall lead and the upper hand. It changed before the rest day. Giniel de Villiers taking over in front from Carlos Sainz. Now perhaps was a chance for the Spaniard to strike back, but problems got to him first. Not far into the stage, he got stuck. And worse than that, it transpired that Sainz was suffering with a power steering problem. In these conditions, and particularly with a marathon stage and no service awaiting at the end, drivers have to try and keep the car in prime condition. For Sainz, it was going to be a long and physically laborious day. Sainz, of course, grew up in Spain, and rallying on tarmac and then in the forests was his first birthing place. But Nasser Al-Attiyah has been on this sort of terrain ever since he learned how to drive. It's meat and drink to him, and if ever there was a stage designed for him, perhaps this was the one. Which isn't to say that he went through completely trouble-free. His BMW looking a little battered, but he was certainly well up in the lead group at every checkpoint. Last year's winner Luke Alphon has been, like most of the Mitsubishis, struggling a little throughout this year with problems, but they have been designed specifically for the long haul, not for the short high-speed sprint stages. Seeing Sainz in problems, he immediately turns around and looks for another way through. Experience will tell you where the soft holes are, and Alphon, like Sainz, still has to get a few more years to be able to match the real experts. But he had a good day, all things considered. Any car that doesn't get stuck is being driven by Superman or the hand of the Almighty. Alphon had a good run through, coming across the line at the end of the day in third position, and using car's jacking system to try and help them get out. The automatic deflators allow them to drop the tyre pressure. The sand's very soft, he said. There was another car, and so we went the other way round, but the surface here was too soft as well. With the tyre pressures lowered, more grip available, and Mitsubishi makes its way to firmer standing. As they came into Mauritania, Volkswagen were 1, 2, 3, Mitsubishi languishing further down the order. But it has become more of a desert Dakar than a stony piste Dakar. The Mitsubishis have started to rise towards the top. At the start of this morning's stage, Volkswagen had the top 2 positions, with 3 Mitsus racked up right behind them. Top of which was former multiple winner Stefan Peter-Hansel. If anyone knows how to find their way through the desert, Peter-Hansel is that man. And today, second on the stage, he had a good run through.
Hello!
Mitsubishi Motors.
The man in charge, though, at every checkpoint fastest was our current leader, Janil de Villiers. Last year's runner-up to Luke Alphon. It looks as though this year he is determined, like the rest of the Volkswagen team, to lead from the front. He increased his advantage out front. He was 6.5 minutes ahead of Peter-Hansel, 9 ahead of Alphon, and 12 ahead of Al-Attiyah. And today, not much, it seemed, was going to put him off his stride. If anyone in the Mitsubishi camp can figure that they have had more than their fair share of troubles, it's Hiroshi Masuoka. Again, the car stopped and up on the jacks, and again the reason, the need to change a clutch.
Stay on the top.
Carlos Souza battling through with the buggies in the dunes. Volkswagen driver led early on.
Nós ficamos ali ligeiramente atascados.
And in this onboard camera you can see exactly why drivers are reluctant often to drop the tyre pressures for some dunes, because big rocks and sharp stones can lurk just over the next brow, and deflated tyres running very low pressures for the sand simply won't survive. Carlos here saying the tyre pressure's okay, the next time we get to the sand we'll change the pressure. Jean-Louis Schlesser in his two-wheel drive buggy is always going to be at a disadvantage in the big dunes. Today was a stage that many feared would be very sandy indeed, but in fact the tracks chosen by the organisers were about two-thirds like this. And that allows the Schlesser Ford buggy to keep the pace up and to keep the pressure on. He'd end up sixth on the stage, others not quite so fortunate. This is Isabelle Patissier. Is there some space on your side? There's someone behind. She pulls over. The sentinel pressed on the horn button of the car following, alerting her to their presence. Ivan Muller with Dakar veteran René Metsch. Sends very soft here, it's not so easy, and there you go, he says. Well, if somebody like Metsch can get stuck, what hope is there for the less experienced drivers? Many will have spent a lot of time looking for or handing out help in today's dunes.
In the beginning it was very slowly in the rocks, and the first dunes were really soft, unlike they said in the briefing. In the briefing they said the second dunes were very soft, but the first dunes were very soft, so we stopped to deflate for the second dunes after we nearly got stuck on the first ones. And then the second ones, I mean, it was really easy to pass, but the driving was really difficult, a lot of steering to do in the rocks.
A third stage win then for Giniel de Villiers in the Volkswagen. Peter Hansel and Alphon leading the charge for Mitsubishi, and Alataya having a great day in the sand as well. And that means that the South African continues to hold the overall lead, but Sainz plummets by an hour. Now he's chased by two Mitsus. Eric Vigarou invites us for a guided tour around his Pro Chuck Chevrolet pickup. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the Chevy Pro Truck. First thing we have to do, of course, put the safety belts on and then put on the steering wheel. Well, we decided to go for a really straightforward dashboard. When you're racing, it's better to concentrate fully on the track in front of you and have only the essential information on the dash. So you've got three indicators: rev counters, which allows you to take care of the engine; the cap indicators connected to the GPS. That's very important. It tells my co-driver which cap I have to follow. I just have to turn to be on the right cap. That's the right compass point heading. Third thing we have here is the speed indicator, very important this year because the organisers have established very strict speed limits, and when we go through villages we have 30 or 50 km/h speed limits that we have to obey. And then we've got the gearbox selector, it's semi-automatic. And that's the button for the Sentinel. Very important safety feature to warn riders we're coming, particularly when we're in the dust. And here, like on a plane, the engines start with the emergency kill switch. Here in the middle of the car we got two very old-fashioned instruments, the automatic deflating and inflating systems for the tyre. Looks pretty provincial, but in fact it works very well. Two simple taps, very simple, very reliable. We've never had problems. And I forgot the most important thing, the windscreen wipers. And they're for a windscreen that we don't have. If today's marathon stage was going to be tough for the bikes and the cars and a long day in the saddle, Imagine travelling in one of these things. The trucks are certainly not often the fastest things through the dunes, and truck category leader Hans Stacey and the rest of the field were preparing for a very long day. For any of them to reach the bivouac before nightfall, they would have been going very well indeed. Well, Stacey has taken the overall lead before the rest halt. Particularly notable, of course, in the first week of the truck competition, the retirement of Chagin and the Kamaz, and that left his teammate Mardeev in second position as far as the trucks were concerned today. Iltigar Mardeev closing towards the end of the stage, but he was not without his dramas either. The crew stopping to change a tyre. And that is not the work of a moment. As the trucks approach the bivouac, Hans Bex is in third, Arjen Brewer here in fourth position. And Thomas Tomacek is in fifth spot. But for most of the trucks, darkness will fall long before they get to Tichit. And that makes the driving, the navigation and the survival in the desert an awful lot tougher. One of the front runners, Wilfred van Ginkel, was only 18th place at checkpoint 1, but he dragged himself up to 8th by the middle of the stage. He's yet to finish. Teruhito Sugawara here going strongly, but like everyone else, he'll have a long day in the dunes. And possibly a long night. For those who survive stage 8, the 500 kilometres between Tichit and Neymar will be equally punishing. One of the great Dakar stages, it'll be simply too much for many to survive. Reaching Neymar will itself be a major victory.